Welcome back. We're going to wrap things up on Hockey Central. Happy Thanksgiving to those watching and listening in the U.S. of A. Justin Bourne, Anthony Stewart, and we've added the pretty boy, Matt Marchese.
I'm on to you now, by the way. Now you're just trying to wear exactly what I'm wearing, thinking that I won't chirp you. But now I'm going to chirp you. Stop copying me. You're wearing the exact same shirt.
Listen, what are you doing this weekend? You want to take me shopping so I don't have to hear this anymore?
This is like Twins with Danny DeVito and Schwarzenegger.
This is exactly like Twins.
What's going on, Matty?
Besides hearing from Stewie every morning, everything is absolutely fantastic. So you guys are talking about David Pastrnak. Okay, if I asked you guys, the last player to score 60 goals in a season was who?
I think it's Stamkos, no?
Stamkos.
Okay.
2011, 2012. The last player to score more than Pastrnak through the first 24 games was Mario Lemieux in 92-93. Can David Pastrnak eclipse that 60-goal mark this season?
What did Lemieux finish with that year?
Probably like 1,000 goals.
It was 1,000.
It was way too many. I will check it right now. But you guys can banter about as I.
So what are you asking?
Eclipse the 60-goal mark this season, healthy.
I don't see why not. I mean, that line he's on is probably the best in the NHL outside of McDavid and possibly the one in Colorado. But it's one of the three best lines in the league. He's in the shooting spot on the power play. He's got a great shot. He's shown he can keep this clip up. You know, when you factor in last season and this year, I'm going to say, yes, he hit 60.
I'm going on the name test. When you hear David Pastrnak, you don't think 60 goal scorer. I think you think 45. So
like the
timestamp here, 45 goals for me.
Stewie loves the timestamp on this show, by the way.
He's on pace for 79 goals. Just let that sink in for a second. I think because he's getting so many on the power play, and he's almost setting up the way Ovechkin does. If you watch him, a lot of his goals this year have been the one-timer. He has an underrated shot. 60 is a lot, but I think more than 45. I'm going to be lame and say it's going to be in the middle. I think less than 60, more than 45. I think it's again 55.
Mario Lemieux, 69 goals in 60 games that year.
Oh, my God.
So I was close by saying 1,000. On this day, I got a couple of on this day in NHL histories for you today. So on this day in NHL history, in 1941, the Boston Bruins tied an NHL record for 4 goals in a 10-minute overtime period. It was a mandatory period, so you had to play the full 10 minutes. Would you like to see a mandatory period of 3-on-3 overtime regardless of how many goals are scored? Like in soccer.
I like the idea of having more 3-on-3 because it's so fun and just exciting, and we see the best players in the game. But the element of next goal wins is what makes it so dramatic to me, and I would hate to take that away from it.
Just regular season, obviously not for the playoffs.
Yeah.
That would be crazy.
No, I think next goal wins is my preference.
This is not soccer, and I'm going to say 3 words: thrill of victory. So no.
Agony of defeat as well. So listen, I think we all agree we want next goal wins, but I'd love 10 minutes. In fact, we talked last week, if there was one rule I could change, it would be to mandate 5-minute overtimes to 10-minute overtimes.
Also on this day in NHL history, Matt Sundin becomes the first and only Leaf player to score 400 goals with the team. Was Matt Sundin underappreciated in this city?
I wasn't here when he was playing, so
I'll give you a hint. I'll give you a hint. Yes.
I mean, I was here. I interviewed him a bunch of times.
As a player.
I got the sense he was appreciated. He was really loved. I think he took a lot of the criticism, and I think it was, again, he was the guy following Wendell Clark with the C, and that's a very unenviable position for anyone. Wendell Clark was the lifeline, the bloodline, the heartbeat of this team. He exemplified everything people wanted to see in a hockey player, and Matt Sundin was such a more cerebral guy, such an impressive player, but he wasn't going out and smashing guys and playing the same way, so he might have taken a bit of undue criticism, but from what I could tell, he was pretty much beloved here, and I think people really appreciated how good he was as a hockey player.
I think he was underappreciated. He was one of my favorite players of all time, one of the best backhands in the NHL. But I think that's the media scrutiny sort of, deterred his legacy a little bit. But I believe when he was in his peak, he was one of the best players in the National Hockey League.
He didn't play that blue collar style that this fan base like Darcy Tucker's a very good player, but those are the Ty Domies and guys like that it felt like they appreciated more than like when Sundin got hurt in the Islanders series and Alan McCauley was the #1 center. There were people saying we don't need Matt Sundin anymore.
Boo-hoo, no.
I didn't hear that narrative. Was that you calling into the fan?
I was too young for that.
Oh, from Woodbridge. Yeah. First-time caller.
Seeing how badly the Canadians were beat last night, especially at home, What was the worst loss that you've experienced playing sports yourself? Mine was 14-1 in a junior game.
For me,
Not good.
it was 17-1. I think it was 14 or 17-1 against the London Knights when I was with Kingston Frontenacs. And we were actually in the dressing room trying to pull the fire alarm in the second intermission because it was like 11-1. And we were trying to get out of there and get on the bus back to Kingston.
That's awesome. Justin, you have a good one? I'm trying to think.
Well, in
faced
terms
so many
of like
beatings.
raw numbers, I'm not sure, but I know the most outmatched I ever felt was I played at the University of Alaska Anchorage the year after they won one game, so out of like 40. So the team was bad. And we went into Minnesota Duluth, which then played at an arena called The Deck, which was the size of this studio. It was tiny. And they had like 6 future NHLers on their team, including Mason Raymond and guys that could skate. And I was like, let's see what college hockey is like. We lost like 9-1 and 8-2 or something, just completely. I've never felt more like I do not belong than that.
So after the first one, you're just looking like, do we really have to play a
Well, that's
second
in
one? or can
college. You
just
play
wave-
Friday, Saturday.
Wave the
Oh,
white flag.
Junior
didn't have any
Lassard when
beat-
the Hobie was on their team too. It was ugly.
Oh, God. I didn't have any
Francis
beatdowns like that in
Lassard?
hockey.
I forget which one it was.
My high school football team, I think we got shut out 4 straight games, and we'd kind of show up. We just wanted to get a first down, and like we would celebrate, like, yes, first down. It was unbelievable.
Amber's team was the Little Giants
It
of,
was-
of
it was
high
not-
school
It was
football.
not pretty.
Henrik Lundqvist is a guy that we know is nearing the end of his career. Do you think there's any chance that the Rangers trade him? And isn't that a guy that you would love to see win a Stanley Cup?
I feel like the Ray Bourque trade to Colorado, like it was weird, like seeing him win it with Colorado, but obviously that's better than not winning one. Like I almost would rather see him try it with the Rangers and keep sticking it out and see if he can turn it around towards the end than go play for whoever and win a cup somewhere else. I don't know.
Nashville.
I say Toronto needs a 1A, 1B combo. I say trade him to the Toronto Maple Leafs and have him win a cup here in Toronto.
I want to see him finish his career as a New York Ranger. I'm not even sure what the marketplace is. Remember, teams that are fighting for the Stanley Cup generally are kind of up against the cap, and there's a guy, what's he making? $7.5, $8 million bucks. I'm not sure the logistics would work out. I'm not sure he wants to leave. He's so synonymous with New York, right?
I love players that stick with one team their whole franchise, and
And it's so rare.
It
So
is.
I'm hoping he stays.
Hall of Famer?
Oh, yeah. I think so.
Has to be, right?
Yeah. He's
Mayor
what-
of New York. He'll probably be the mayor.
He's going to end up
Might do a better
He'd get
job.
votes.
He's going to end up 3rd or 4th
Wow.
all time in wins, and he's taken a team to the final.
And he's got a couple of Vezinas, I
Does-
believe.
yeah.
So
Olympic golds too.
I think he has one.
Yeah.
So that would fall into the category. All right. If we think that when healthy, the Bergeron, Marchand, Pastrnak, McDavid, Draisaitl, whoever, and McKinnon, Rantanen, Landeskog lines are the best lines in hockey, is the Barkov, Huberdeau, Dadonov line close?
Well, I mean, they're close, but I just don't think they're in the same echelon. I understand that there's a big movement for everyone to appreciate how good Barkov is, and what Huberdeau is doing is fantastic, and Dadonov's in the league too. But that's obviously it's a very good line, but I don't think it's in the conversation of those 3 elite lines.
I don't think they're in the same echelon because when you mentioned the first 3, I got my spidey tingly sense going, and then when you mentioned the other line, I was like, yeah, they're pretty good. So
I think part of the problem is they're buried in Florida. If they were playing in New York, if they're playing in Toronto, my goodness, I think they're a very talented line. I think Barkov's one of the top 10, 12 players in the NHL. And I think at the end of the year, you're going to have 3 guys who are closing in on 300 collective points. So I'm going to say they're very close.
Do the Leafs win by 4 or 5 tonight in Detroit?
Detroit, I feel for Detroit. I understand that things were bleak and they weren't trying to have a great year. Mantha's hurt now. It's bad, and I think it's gonna be an ugly season. Not just like, they finished last. Like it's gonna be ugly.
I think they get 3 power play goals. So I'll leave it at that.
We will wait and see. Find out tonight on Sportsnet. Scotiabank Wednesday Night Hockey, Leafs and Red Wings at 6:30 Eastern. We have the Bruins and Sens on Sportsnet 1 at 7 o'clock Eastern. Guys, this has been fun.
Yeah, thanks, David.
Thank you, sir.
For Matt, Justin, and Anthony, I'm David. Thanks for watching Hockey Central. Writer's Block, Blair, Deitch, next.